Hey guys, what's going on? Erin here. So excited to bring you this brand new series where we are talking about the key things that you need to know to pass each of the 4 CPA exams. If you've been at this a while, or even if you're brand new to it, you may have heard that each exam is slightly different. They all have their own unique characteristics, their own unique challenges that they pose for you, the test taker. So one thing you should know about me and what you're not going to get out of this video is a list of things that worked for me or how I passed regulation, how I passed the EC. And here's why. What worked for me is very unlikely to work for you, simply because we're not the same people. We don't come to the table with the exact same experience. And that's of very little value to you just to tell you what I did to pass the exam. Instead, I want to give you this information that can inform your decisions when you're making your own plan to pass these exams. So, that being said, let's dive in to the key things you need to know about audit. The audit exam out of all 4 of the CPA exams is unique in a couple of ways. So, here are the 3 things that you really need to know. Number 1, this exam must be studied for in order. So you need to start at the beginning of the textbook and you need to work your way through to the end. This is true with any study materials that you have because audit is a process. Unlike a lot of the other materials, the other content of the exams, this one is very much a logical process from start to finish. So you have to understand risk before you can dive into sampling. If you don't have a solid understanding of risk, you're likely not to get some of the sampling or testing questions correct. So that's unique to this exam. A lot of the others, the content stands on its own, and you could start with chapter 8 and come back to 3 and then 5 and 2 and so on, and do it in any order that you like. So tip number 1 for audit, you must proceed in order. Make sure that you have a solid enough understanding of that material before you move on to the next chapter. Again, otherwise that's going to cause some challenges for you. The other unique thing about audit, I think, is that this, unlike any of the other exams, is often referred to as a language exam. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, there's very specific nuances to the language of how they ask questions and how they talk about different processes that's going to give you a hint as to what they're actually asking you and what this process actually entails. So where you're going to see this a lot is in the multiple choice questions. You're going to have questions where you can easily eliminate 2 answers really quickly off the bat, and then you're going to be left with 2. One that's a very good answer, and the other one that is the best answer. So the critical piece for you is to, first of all, acknowledge that this is a language exam more than it is a calculation-based exam. So acknowledge that. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it, frustrating as it may be. And then we've got to spend the time when you're going through those questions. Don't just churn and burn through the multiple choice questions with audit. You absolutely have to take the time, if you've gotten a question wrong, to go back, reread the question, try to understand what key word in there or what specific word could have hinted to you as to what the correct answer was. Spending that time and really training yourself to understand and read the questions with like a fine-tooth comb like that is going to make a huge, huge difference. And finally, number 3, I think this kind of applies to every exam, but my recommendation to a lot of candidates, especially if you're not an auditor, if you don't come to this exam with an audit background, is to try to tie this, especially the cycles, the audit cycles that you're going to learn about, try to tie that to a real life example. The example I always use is an Amazon order. So imagine that if you sent your Amazon order out there and it actually landed on a person's desk. Imagine for a moment that it wasn't all being done by computer and it actually landed on a person's desk. Then as you're walking through the sales process, the AR process, just imagine your order from start to finish, order to packing to shipping to now receiving, the accounts receivable. So tie it to something that is meaningful and applicable to you, something that you've got hands-on experience with, and that's really going to help this information to click and sink in and come down from that theoretical level that just can sometimes be hard to grasp, and put it at a more tangible level where I don't know, I just find that it makes it so much easier to connect with that way. Hope this helps. These are the 3 key things that you need to know to set yourself up for success on the audit exam. Make sure you click like and subscribe to get more tips and tricks for the CPA exam.